Hi, my name is Mr. Mansuri, and I will be teaching 6th grade Earth Science today. We're going to be talking about what makes Earth so special and what makes it such a habitable environment for humans and able to sustain life so perfectly. So, we're going to talk about what makes Earth habitable. There are three things that we pretty much know already about Earth and its surfaces and what makes it a perfect place for humans to live. So, we're going to make a KWL chart, what we know, what we want to know, and what we've learned throughout the process of this lesson. So, three things that we do know about Earth already, for sure, is that we're 70% covered with water, which is very important to sustain life. We have different levels of atmospheres. So there are several levels that we'll talk about and get to know them pretty well, which sustain life. And third would be types of surfaces. We'll talk about our own types of surfaces on Earth as well as other planets and what types of surfaces they have that do not make perfect conditions for human life. Alright, so we're finally going to discuss what we want to know, some important questions and objectives we would like to cover by the end of this lesson. So we want to take a look at all 5 layers of the atmosphere. We'll talk about which layers are important, which layers provide the most support for human life, and which ones kind of are dangerous and provide not so much support for human life. We'll also talk about the types of surfaces and layers of the Earth, and then we'll also get briefly into what other planets actually have and what makes the other planets not habitable for humans, what makes them dangerous, what new planets are out there that have been discovered that can possibly support life. And then we'll finally talk about how the sun affects the Earth, which is probably one of the most important points that we'll get into. We'll talk about great effects of the sun, and then we'll talk about dangerous effects of the sun and how it could potentially harm us rather than help us. So next we'll talk about the 5 levels of the atmosphere, which are very crucial to making Earth a habitable place for humans to survive and live. The atmosphere is thickest near the surface and thins out with the height until it merges into space. So we have 5 levels of the atmosphere. Our first would be the troposphere, and that is going to be our first layer, and it's pretty much the layer where our weather happens. So this is where you're going to see your thunderstorms, your rain, and all precipitation. That's probably one of the most important parts of the troposphere. Our second would be the stratosphere. It's the second layer in which you're going to find your commercial airplanes, so this will be above our weather patterns. And the reason airliners fly there are because it's a very stable environment for them to have a smooth ride. Our third would be the mesosphere, and this is our level of the atmosphere in which meteors or rocks are burned up and protect the Earth's surface from getting meteors and things like that. Our fourth would be the thermosphere, and this is our fourth layer in which the space shuttles orbit, and auroras, which are known as the northern lights, are typically seen in this area. And the fifth would be the exosphere, which is the uppermost limit, and that's our layer where we are starting to go into outer space. And this is what that looks like on a photograph. This will be our troposphere. This is our stratosphere, mesosphere, our thermosphere, and finally we have the exosphere. So all of those are very important to creating a stable environment for Earth to be protected. Next, we'll talk about surfaces of the Earth. 70% of the Earth is water, while the other 30% is land. Underneath the ocean, we have rock. This is the outer layer formed by a rocky crust that came from lava when it was formed about 4.5 billion years ago. These are the surfaces of different planets. As you can see, Earth is mainly covered in water. The rest of the planets contain rocks and typically contain many gases that are very harmful to human life. Alright, one of the most important parts of what makes Earth a habitable place for humans to live would be the sun's effect on Earth. So we'll talk about why the sun matters. Energy from the sun is very important to Earth. The sun warms our planet, heats the surface, the oceans, and the atmosphere. Another important part is it helps control our weather patterns. Climate is also strongly affected by the amount of solar radiation that Earth receives. So the effect of climate affects our solar radiation, and solar radiation also goes through cycles. So the amount of radiation given off by the sun changes with solar activity, like solar flares or sunspots that happen, and it's often known to happen in cycles. Solar radiation is also very harmful to humans, and our weather patterns, such as our clouds and parts of the atmosphere, can control our levels of solar radiation, making sure that they don't penetrate through, affecting human life. Going back to our KWL chart, we wanted to know how water covers 70% of Earth, more about the atmospheres, and more about the surfaces of Earth. We wanted to know more about the 5 levels of the atmosphere, types of surfaces, and how the sun influences life on Earth. And from that, we've learned the 5 levels of the atmosphere: the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, and thermosphere, and exosphere, as well as the surfaces of Earth include 70% water, 30% land, and the rocky crust formed from lava, as well as the effects of the sun that can be harmful towards humans, provides warmth of the planet and oceans, prevents solar radiation and causes some solar radiation, prevents weather patterns, and is a good source of energy for life here on Earth.